shouldn't be hard. Life should be a fun-filled adventure every day. So now start joining up dots. Tap into your talents, your skills, your God-given gifts, and tell your boss you don't deserve me. I'm out of here. It's time for you to smash that alarm clock and start getting the dream business and life you, well, of course, are dreaming of. Let's join your host, David Ralph, from the back of his garden in the UK, or wherever he might be today, with another jammed-packed episode of the #1 hit podcast, Join Up Dots.
Yeah, good morning to you, and welcome to the Join Up Dots podcast. Right, okay, what we're going to talk about today is something that a lot of you might be trapped in already, or a lot of you might be moving towards this trap of selling sort of one-off products. You've got an idea, you create a service, and basically, you keep on selling that one product over and over again. New person comes in, you sell the product disappears, and you don't see that person again. So you've got to find a new person, and then that person comes in, and you buy it. And now, if you're doing that, you're not really running a business. What you're doing, you're running a sort of personal monthly rescue mission. You're hoping that you're building your own sort of freedom route, but actually what you're doing, you're building a trap, because every single month you're in this trap of sell, promote, offer, post, push, hope, and it's just constantly going round and round. And I know exactly how that feels, because for a lot of people, this is the first stage of entrepreneurship. This is when you tell yourself, at least I'm my own boss, at least I'm creating my own income. But I want you to think about this, okay? The truth is, if you stop selling, then everything stops. If you stop selling, everything stops. And that's not ownership. That's not dependency. That's certainly not freedom. And over time, it wears you down. Now, I get so many emails from people who are sort of trapped into this sort of feast and famine, because they didn't think about how they can build it into a monthly retainer or some kind of subscription service, or income that just comes your way. Because when you're selling a product, no matter how good the month was, no matter how hard you've worked, at the end of the month, you're back at the beginning again. And so we've got to change that. We've got to change that. And so the second sort of question I want to ask you is, if you are in this system, if you took next month off, would you still earn any money? If you took next month off, what would still pay you? You get this a lot on holiday. I always speak to people on holidays, or I used to go on holidays with a family. We do different types of vacations now. And you'd always meet a taxi driver. And they'd always go, oh, yeah, well, this holiday's costing me $3,000 because, I'm losing out on free. And it's always the losing out on the work when they were doing something. So they're paying $3,000 for the holiday, but they're losing $3,000 because as soon as they step away from their business, they lose their income. And they get nothing. So this is the problem. And people kind of think they got to get around this because they need more energy or better marketing or a smarter sales funnel or some secret tactic that they now get bombarded with on email by some AI guru. But it's not it. This isn't an issue about how hard you're working. It's what you've built or what you're thinking of building, because income that requires you every single time isn't really income. It's just another form of labor. It's just like going to work. You go to work, you get paid. You might get sick pay or whatever, but basically if you're not going to that office, you're not going to get paid. So how do we simplify this? Right, we simplify this because basically, you've got to think about two types of businesses. The first is a transactional business. You sell something, you deliver it, and that's it. And then next month, you start again. So, for example, I've actually got an offline shop. And people come into the shop and they buy products and they go. Now, we do have a lot of recurring customers because they like the shop and they like the service and they like the price and stuff. But effectively, it's a transactional business. People come in, and if they don't ever come in again, then you've got to find somebody new, okay? Which means more content, more emails, and more sort of pushing. It's the sort of feast or famine. Fortunately, we've overcome that, and we've been going for many, many years, and so it's not quite to that stage. But it's that kind of thing, okay? It's emotionally exhausting because you're always one slow week away from worrying. Now, here's the second type, and this is what I want you to think about. This is asset-based businesses. This is where things compound and go in your favour. This is memberships, subscriptions, retainers, evergreen offers. This is businesses where the structure does more than a bit of the work for you, okay? And this is what you've got to really think about. How can I make my product sell when I'm not there? Okay. Now, I want to tell you something about Join Up Dots, and it's the bit when I realised that something wasn't quite right with Join Up Dots. The podcast kept growing, even back in the day, even when I wasn't recording constantly, and downloads came in, and emails arrived, and opportunities appeared simply, and I remember thinking, this is going really, really well. But all those opportunities, all those downloads, all those required me to do stuff. I was having to work hard after I'd actually done the thing. And that was the difficult bit. That's when I actually had to look at it and think, right, what do I need to do differently? So I started creating books, I started creating services, and I started building passive income. Now, fortunately, I've got such a large audience, I don't really have to do the promotion and stuff anymore. I just record the podcast and away you go. But it was a real wake-up call for me because I realised that I was actually building a business that required more work after it instead of the first part of work being the business itself. Do you understand? Because you don't want to build something where, as I say, you're trapped, or if you're away, you want to check your emails all the time, or you've just got to whiz off to do this thing. You've got to look at everything about how you escape the hamster wheel. And it's with layers, and it's the layers are the key thing where you build a business and you think, okay, this is the first stage, this is the second, and the layers build up. And layer one is stabilization. You've got to look at what you already sell and think to yourself, can I make this work for me? Don't create something new, because that's a trap. Just ask yourself, can this be delivered over time without me? Can this be a monthly option? Can this be a retained service instead of a one-off? It's the same work, but it's a better structure, okay? And even that alone changes how the month feels, because you're setting it up to just keep on running. Okay, so that's the first thing, stabilization. Really got to think about that. But the second thing is continuity, because you've got to ask the question, what problem still exists after the initial sale? And that's where I was in that issue all the time, where I was having to do more work behind the scenes than I ever needed to, because I hadn't got that continuity set. People talk about sales funnels and stuff, but actually all it is these layers built into it. This is where recurring income lives. This is where you provide support, accountability, guidance, progress. People don't want more information for anything. What they want is to have their life made easier. And that's where memberships and coaching groups and subscriptions and everything fit naturally without feeling sort of forced, really. That is where people are willing to pay on a monthly basis constantly for the same service, because they are feeling that their life is changing. Now, that is coaching, But how do you bring that into your actual business yourself? You've got to think about what the customer really needs going forward. And you've got to keep on creating your avatar, your customer, your ideal customer, making it as good as possible. A lot of people do that at the first layer, but they don't keep on redefining what that customer needs in those different layers, because people have different problems at different points of time, okay? And then layer 3 is separation. I think layer 3 is where you build something that you doesn't rely on live calls, it doesn't need launches, it doesn't collapse if you have a low energy week. That's where I am now. I can literally walk away for months on end and my income doesn't stop. I can just turn it off. I could potentially turn off JoinUp now and just say it is what it is out there, and I would say the majority of my income would still be coming in, because I've separated the customer's requirements from my requirements. Does that make sense? Okay. And once you do that, the pressure lifts. You really have created a business that's living and breathing without you. And this is what it's really about. This is where freedom starts. Not going from a job where you're being paid to be there, from a job where you're up in your office or your back bedroom or whatever, just wrapping up parcels and sending them out and just doing all that. This separation is the moment you realise that next month doesn't start at zero again. This is when you realise you're already built that momentum. The wave is just going to come back to you. You're making better decisions. You're stopping chasing sort of every shiny idea, and you are building from calm, okay? And calm is where good businesses are built. Nobody gets a good business if they're hectic and they're rushing around. Honestly, promise me, okay? So here's what I want you to do this week. If you're thinking about starting your own business, don't ask, how do I sell more? Just ask instead, how do I stop starting again every month? How do I keep this wave coming in and out? In and out. And if you are already running a business, what currently sort of resets to zero? What things do you have to keep on doing constantly all the time just to keep it going? Because the moment you step off the hamster wheel, you don't just build a better business, you build a better life. Absolutely. Okay. So think about it. You don't want to build a business that is around you all the time and stops when you're not doing the work. You want to have one that's living and breathing behind the scenes so that you can have that freedom lifestyle. And that's the key thing that we keep on trying to get through to the customers of JoinUp Dots. Okay. It's not about the income. It's about the lifestyle, and that makes all the difference. Okay. So if you want to build something that actually lasts, something that really compounds and builds instead of just exhausts you, then just head over to joinupdots.com, or you can send an email to joinupdots@gmail.com, and we will help you get going in any way we can, because real businesses are built over time, not overnight, and they start with you setting up and structuring it the right way. Okay, so thank you for listening. That was David Ralph live from the back of the garden. If you want to subscribe to this podcast, we really appreciate that. That helps us so much. And if you want to leave a review, that's even better. But until next time, you look after yourselves, you stay sexy, of course, and we will see you again. Cheers. See ya. Bye-bye.
That's the end of JoinUp Dots. You've heard the conversation. Now it's time for you to start taking massive action. Create your future, create your life. It's the only life you've got. And we'll be back again real soon. JoinUp Dots, JoinUp Dots, JoinUp Dots, JoinUp Dots. JoinUp Dots.